Hi everyone, Industry Kablamo here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And gonna give my thoughts right now on some recent developments that have come out of the music streaming industry. People talking about Spotify allegedly burying the songs and the albums of artists who do exclusive deals with other music streaming platforms. Now, this sort of stuff, I always take it with a grain of salt because it seems like the music journalism industry a lot of the time is just an arm of the music labels out there, and they just kind of report on all the negative shit that the labels would like you to think about Spotify, like that whole debacle about, oh, Taylor Swift wants other artists to be paid more for being on Spotify, and it's just not fair. She's such a patron saint of music. She hasn't forgotten about the little people. It's not like her label's just using her to squeeze more money out of Spotify for her music and the music of other artists that are also on her label. I mean, she really cares about those small independent bands that aren't getting paid anything. Oh, there's a reason people call her a snake. Spotify, of course, has shot back and said that this isn't true, we're not doing this. And even me personally, I have a hard time believing that Spotify is actually engaging in this type of behavior. I mean, they're such a huge, successful company. They have a lot of employees. I can't imagine that they would do something as stupid as to pettily bury the results of incredibly popular artists like Drake or Chance the Rapper, just to stick it to those artists, because the result of that is going to be that they're going to make less money because people go onto that streaming service to stream those artists because those artists are popular. Why would they decidedly make less money just to get back at these people? A streaming service blatantly denying its customers artists like Drake is like a grocery store denying its customers bread. I can't imagine a faster way for Spotify to become irrelevant, and I think they understand that. It just doesn't make sense, just like exclusively streaming your album on a particular service in general, which of course Universal Music has said that they are no longer interested in doing since Frank Ocean's latest record. Kind of a stupid idea for them to do that. Frank Ocean, such a popular artist. If you put the album on just one streaming platform, especially a paid platform, then you're only going to limit the amount of people that are going to hear the record. It's math. I don't know how Universal hadn't figured that out beforehand. And Frank, I don't necessarily blame him for doing what he's doing. I mean, in the industry today, if you're an artist, I would say whenever the opportunity comes up, take the money and run, man, because this music industry, it's very unforgiving. Nobody's going to sort of keep your legacy alive. Nobody's going to do you any favors. The moment you're irrelevant, you're chewed up and you're spit out. So for anybody, that could be right around the corner. That could be for some indie darling, especially for an indie darling. And that could also be true of the most popular artists out there today. So if Apple offers you a fat sack of cash saying that, hey, you know, premiere with us, you get all this money, sure, why not? But what sort of really got caught in my craw was this recent set of articles that had come out talking about how Spotify is publicly saying that exclusives are bad. They're bad for the industry, they're bad for the fans, they're bad for the musicians. Pretty funny considering that Spotify in the past has dipped their toes into the exclusives game. I mean, they didn't exactly come through with wonderful exclusives. I mean, they did an exclusive with that recent, like, Tyga album. They should have paid him to put it in the garbage. Honestly. But how is Spotify, the streaming service company that has millions more subscribers than Apple Music, who is known for their huge, glamorous music exclusives on Apple Music, going to shit on the next logical step in this music streaming competition? I mean, Spotify wasn't exactly stopping in their tracks during the early days of their company when the rest of the industry was saying, streaming is bad for music, don't stream music, streaming hurts the fans, streaming hurts the artists, streaming hurts the industry. They were like, you know what? fuck it, we're gonna keep going. Now, if there's one thing that I know is bad for artists and bad for music and bad for the fans, it's Spotify potentially having a monopoly in the music streaming world and far and away being the most popular music streaming service with no real competition. Because with no real competition, Spotify is free to provide as mediocre a service as they want. If Spotify wants to end exclusives for good, pay artists more for streaming. Make it so that it makes monetary sense to make your album available free and to everyone on a platform like Spotify versus taking a fat sack of cash from Apple. Or Tidal, which is a platform that partially exists because the artists who head the platform saw themselves being ripped off in the music streaming realm, which is why they started their own service to cut out the Spotify middleman. Now that Spotify is the head honcho in the music streaming game, they don't want to see smaller services taking that next logical step to compete with Spotify directly and provide a service that is legitimately separate from what every other music streaming service out there is providing. You need to make your service different from everybody else's service. One of the easiest ways you can do that is making sure that what is available on your service is different than what is available on other services. And since you're all offering music, of course, you want to have music that other streaming services don't have that gets more people paying attention to your music streaming service. It only makes sense. And while there are labels out there like Universal Music who are saying, hey man, I don't know if I want to do this whole exclusive thing anymore, I don't think exclusivity is necessarily going to be a thing of the past. I think we're going to continue to see more and more of it, especially as we have artists who are in unique positions like Drake or like Frank, who are incredibly popular and have a lot of sway with their labels and have a lot of sway in the industry and can be offered these multi-million-dollar deals by platforms like Apple to release music exclusively with them. Labels are screwing over artists and taking a lot off the top. Artists are screwing over their fans by putting their stuff exclusively on these streaming services and making it difficult for them to access, but fans are also screwing over artists by pirating their music and not actually supporting the artists and their careers. Streaming services are screwing over labels and artists by not paying enough. Everybody is treating everybody like garbage, and I'm so happy to not be a part of any of it and sort of have the ability to stand on the outside of the orgy of shit and just kind of casually comment on it as I see fit. And I'm going to leave it at that for this little rant over here. Spotify talking about, exclusives are bad! Kind of hypocritical, but also really dumb, because how are you going to compete with these other streaming platforms when they're offering things that you aren't? You can't really cry wolf when you're one of the biggest competitors out there, and Apple is figuring out ways to do what you do, but a little better. All right, let's get out of here. Transition, and those are all my thoughts on Spotify, exclusives, Frank Ocean, music streaming right now, money, music industry. Let me know what you think of this twisted web that we weave. If you want, down in the comments section. Remember to like this video, even if you don't like it, because you watched it, fucking like it, and make sure you subscribe, because I hear that's good for you. Anthony Fantano, music, streaming, Spotify, forever.